Welcome all to the 22nd of September 2025 Council meeting. I open the meeting at 7 p.m. Our meeting is being held on the traditional land of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people, and on behalf of Banyule City Council, I wish to acknowledge them as the traditional custodians. I would also like to pay my respects to the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung elders, past, present and emerging, and to acknowledge other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders joining us this evening. Our community is made up of diverse cultures, beliefs, abilities, bodies, sexualities, ages and genders. We are committed to access, equity, participation and rights for everyone, principles which empower, foster harmony and increase the well-being of an inclusive community. I will now pass you on to the Chief Executive Officer, Ms Alison Beckwith, who will read out the formalities.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome everyone to this ordinary meeting of Council. As the Mayor indicated, my name's Alison Beckwith and I'm the Chief Executive Officer here at Banyule. Tonight's meeting is being held in person in accordance with the provision of Council's governance rules and the Local Government Act 2020. The meeting is also being live streamed via Council's website and Facebook page. Live streams will be available on Council's website and YouTube. The live stream is not interactive. Any comments or private messages directed to us while the stream is live will not be presented to the Council or have a bearing on the conduct of the meeting tonight. Council's request to speak methods continues to allow our residents to participate in the meeting without having to attend the meeting in person. I'll just take you through some rules about public participation. Public question time will occur at the conclusion of tonight's meeting. If a member of the public who submitted a question is present, they are welcome to read their question as submitted or have the question read out on their behalf by a member of the staff. If indeed a person is not present at public question time, the question will not be read out as part of the meeting. However, all public questions and their responses will be included in the meeting minutes following tonight's meeting. I just remind you all that no statement may be derogatory, defamatory or directed to an individual councillor, member of staff, ratepayer or member of the public. A 2-minute time limit does apply to all requests to speak, and the timer will be used and a warning will sound at the 1.5-minute mark. And we ask you kindly then to start summing up for the last 30 seconds. We ask that members of the gallery please check their mobile phones and ensure that they are either switched off or on silent to avoid any disruptions to tonight's meeting. I also want to remind everyone that Council has a zero tolerance for any form of bullying, harassment or violence. Everyone present in the gallery, including community, members of Council staff and the councillors, are expected to respect the individual views of all others, irrespective of their own views held, and respectfully allow everyone to participate in tonight's meeting. Those of you in the gallery, if you do depart the meeting before the meeting actually finishes tonight, we do ask you not to hold conversations with others until you're actually outside the building. This beautiful building is heritage listed, but with that, the noise does reverberate from outside in and affects those that are listening at home. So I thank you in advance for that. I will now introduce you to the councillors who are in attendance tonight. So starting with my left, I have Councillor Matt Wood representing Hordern Ward, Councillor Mary O'Kane representing Olympia Ward, and Councillor Alison Champion representing Sherborne Ward. And to my right, I have the Mayor, Councillor Elizabeth Neely representing Beale Ward, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Peter Castaldo representing Griffin Ward, and Councillor Rick Garotti representing Grimshaw Ward. This evening we are also joined by the executive team. So over to my left, I have Natasha Swan, Director of City Development, and Joseph Tobacco, Director of Community Wellbeing. And to my right, Darren Bennett, Director of Assets and City Services, and Tony Tuoldo, Acting Director, Corporate Services. We are also joined here tonight by our Chief Financial Officer Gloria Conti, members of our Governance and Integrity team and the IT team. We thank you for participating in tonight's meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you to the CEO. I'll begin with apologies, and I note we have 3 apologies this evening. Councillor Alita McKern, who's on a council granted leave of absence, and Councillors Alicia Curry and Mark De Pasquale. Are there any other apologies? No. Confirmation of the minutes held on the 1st of September council meeting 2025. Can I please have a councillor to move and second? Moved Councillor O'Kane, seconded Councillor Wood. I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Disclosure of interest for councillors is required at any other meeting of council. Councillors must declare a conflict of interest at the start of the meeting and leave the meeting when the item is presented to council. Councillors will be required to leave the meeting and return when the item has been resolved. And at any point throughout the meeting, if a councillor recognises they have a general or material interest, they can flag that at that point and follow the same procedure. Are there any disclosures of interest, councillors? There are no disclosures. Disclosures to staff, officers that are present. I know now whether you have a conflict. Are there any conflicts? No. Urgent business. There is no urgent business. So I move to item 2.1, petition, Save Our Pool. There are 6 speakers to this item. Fleur Taylor will address council in person and is speaking for the recommendation. Fleur, please approach the lectern. Thank you, Fleur. You have 2 minutes to speak.
My whole life. On behalf of these hundreds of signers and the thousands more their signatures represent, I thank Council for receiving and tabling this petition. Your shock decision in June to close the Olympic Leisure Centre aquatic facilities, made after just 5 days' notice to the community and in the midst of a national drowning crisis, has galvanised huge opposition. Our campaign has drawn in support from individuals and organisations including the AMA, former Olympic swimming coach Laurie Lawrence, Banyule Citizen of the Year 2023 and Wurundjeri Elder Auntie Annette Shibaris. It has included heartfelt testimony and prayers from the sisters for whom the Friday night Women's Only Wellbeing program is an integral part of their lives. It has attracted media and parliamentary scrutiny. It has included to date 5 community mobilisations outside these council meetings, building in numbers, persisting in the cold and the dark and the rain to tell you again and again that Heidelberg West deserves the best, that we deserve a library and a pool, and that we are not giving up this fight. On Saturday, our community pool party event drew nearly 200 people to the centre. Council staff who had worked at OLC for many years told us they had never seen so many people there. So this massive petition, impressive on its own terms, is just one expression of our community's determination to save this facility. It is now over to you. We are calling on you to respond to this community mobilisation directly and meaningfully. We understand Council must balance projects and priorities. We know it takes bravery to admit mistakes and publicly change your mind. People, organisations need a good reason for doing so. Councillors, we think a community mobilisation of this depth and breadth is a good enough reason. It is time for you to revisit your hasty and ill-considered decision to take away this vital community resource in October. You can't ignore the new information that has been made known to you since your decision in June. You must respond sincerely and ethically to what this community is telling you. When running for election and seeking our votes, you all spoke of your sincere motivations to serve our community and your commitment to listening to our voices. The community has spoken. We say keep our pool open.
Thank you, Fleur. Our next speaker is Michelle Sirowick, who will address Council in person and is speaking for the recommendation. Thank you, Ms. Scholl.
Thank you. Good evening, councillors. My name is Michelle. I'm a resident of 3081, a member of the OLC, and a climate campaigner. Last week, the federal government released Australia's first national climate risk assessment, and the picture it painted was terrifying. If we continue on our current path, extreme heat days, bushfires, storm damage, and water scarcity will only worsen. In Melbourne, deaths from heat waves could rise by 259% under 3 degrees of warming. That's our neighbors, our kids, and our elders. In Heidelberg West, the most heat-vulnerable part of Banyule, many residents cannot just drive to another pool or head to the coast on a 42-degree day. Many of us live in older homes that are difficult to keep cool, even with council and state initiatives to improve home energy efficiency. And that's why the Olympic Leisure Centre Aquatics matters so deeply. It's not just a pool. It's a cooling center, a refuge, a lifeline, a crucial piece of infrastructure that our community needs to adapt in a warming world. On those extreme heat days that are already occurring more often and more intensely, the OLC pool will literally save lives. I applaud Ivanhoe Council's leadership on climate. Your push for actual zero emissions shows real ambition, but shutting down an aquatic center in the very place it is needed most is a betrayal of climate justice. Olympic Ward already experiences significant structural disadvantages. Closing the aquatics would not only remove a vital public asset, it would deepen inequality and actively put our neighbors' lives at risk in a warming world. Councillors, the petition results make it clear the residents want the pool to stay, and according to Victorian State Minister Gail Tierney's office, Council has not applied for funding for the Olympic Leisure Centre to date. In addition to local support in the last 6 weeks, our community campaign has formed a broader coalition gathering endorsements from national organizations as well. Please give us time and let us work with you to advocate beyond our community and council for upgrades to these much needed facilities. Councillors, please hear us and help us keep our pool afloat. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. The next speaker is Ben Tomasiello, who will address council in person, and he's speaking for the recommendation. Thank you, Ben.
Thanks. Good evening, councillors. Hello. Just to reintroduce myself, I'm Dr. Ben Tomasiello, a GP from the Community Health Centre next door to the Olympic Leisure Centre. And 3 months ago, I came here and spoke about one of the hardest parts of my job, seeing firsthand the health inequity that exists in Banyule and my significant concerns about the unintended consequences of closing the OLC aquatic facilities to the health of the Banyule residents that already experience nationally significant levels of disadvantage. In the 70 minutes of council and council administration discussion that followed, I watched it back. How many times do you think health or health inequity or health consequences were mentioned in the discussion of the decision? 0. Not once. And that's why tonight I just want to start with a quick show of hands. Who here actually cares that Banyule has one of the worst disparities in health outcomes in the country? I do. No, now I see why.
Sorry, Ben, you just speak your 2 minutes.
Yes,
not asking for hands up.
Yes, but I'd like to, just to reflect on that, because, this is so important. And I guess since I last spoke, I'm not asking you to vote on the pool, don't worry. Anyway, since I last spoke, my concerns have been echoed by the Australian Medical Association, President Dr. Simon Judkins, the chair of the RACGP, Dr. Anita Munoz, the principals of local schools, other nationwide health organisations, so many other organisations. So, this is not just me speaking. This is a well-known phenomenon, and I guess I'm not here to repeat myself. What I'm here to focus on is the unique opportunity that decades of funding of the OLC have given us to work with this new broad-based coalition of voices to advocate for the 3081 community for their self-determined needs. These individuals and organisations, I know that they've spoken to various ministers, and the response they get is, we need council to be open to funding to these facilities. Without council support, these new allies of the 3081 community can only go so far. So let's let's work together. I want to say that all this support, I've done this all in my half-hour lunch breaks in the last 4 weeks. Like, imagine what council can do together with the community if it capitalises on this groundswell of support and actually, focuses on the bigger task of securing the future of these aquatic facilities and restoring health outcomes. Now, just to show you what's possible, this is the end of my speech, don't worry. See, this is what happens in 2032. We've got record jump in community health. This is with the Olympics, and we've got here new Olympic legacy. And this is Australia's first ever Olympic Muslim gold medal swimmer, thanks to Ivanhoe Council for their opportunity, where they got their start. And I've got the news articles there. There's just a hand around to everyone here as well, so you can all have a read of that future news.
Thank you, Ben. Our next speaker is Halima McGlashan, who will address council in person and is speaking for the recommendation. Thank you, Halima.
Thank you. I represent the participants in the women's swimming. I'm here to ask you from my heart to keep our swimming pool open. This is so much more than just a pool, it's a lifeline. It's where we can swim freely, allowing us to participate without compromising our values. This is not mere tokenism, rather, it is true inclusion in action. However, inclusion only works when it's accessible. Many sisters do not drive, but rather walk with their families. The pool is what we look forward to each week. Moving these programs to an alternative location may seem reasonable on paper, but for us, it's a barrier. The population growth in Banyule should demand more infrastructure, not less. The pool already addresses the social, emotional and physical needs of so many. We should be expanding the pool, not closing it. We still agonise over the detrimental closure of the children's pool. It restricted families from coming due to the lack of childcare. That decision hit our families hard by removing a safe space where children could practice and grow confidence in essential water skills. This was evident at Saturday's pool party, where there was many Somalian children in attendance, but sadly, they did not go into the water. This is a stark picture that demonstrates how the community has been left behind. For many migrant families, this pool has been their introduction to water safety, a crucial life skill where Australian culture is to chill at beaches. Its closure left a gap that has never been filled. Now the Olympic pool under threat, we fear another blow. Our children and families deserve better. They deserve local access to services. Speaking honestly, in a climate where racism exists, spaces like this pool matter even more. Recently, 2 innocent children of African descent were murdered for no reason. They were simply travelling home on public transport from their basketball game. Additionally, in a nearby suburb less than a year ago, 2 ladies wearing their hijab were physically assaulted in broad daylight. These and other regular racist attacks are at the forefront of our minds. The Olympic pool has been one of the few places where we feel safe. Taking that away sends a painful message that our inclusion is conditional, that our well-being is negotiable. I've seen many women come here after experiencing various hardships. I've seen them laugh again, rebuild their confidence, finding friendship and community through the pool. Keeping the pool open is about respecting diversity, values, safety and health. It's about saying to all who rely on this place, you matter, your well-being matters, your voice matters. I know that if you offered more women's sessions, the sisters would eagerly attend. Please don't take away this from us. In a growing diverse Banyule, let this pool be a symbol of what we stand for: equity, inclusion and compassion. Thank you.
Thank you, Halima. Our next speaker is Abdi Fattah Ahmed, who will address council in person and is speaking for the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. So good evening, everyone. My name is Abdi. I stand here tonight speaking on obviously keeping the pool. So just a quick story about myself. This pool, to me personally, I came to Australia in 2003, and this place taught me how to swim. It taught me, I don't even know how to speak English. I met so many people in this place, and this pool really matters to us because it didn't just teach me how to swim. It connected me to the community. As kids from different backgrounds, I've met so many people from different cultures, different backgrounds, and we became friends. This swimming leisure centre builds bridges long before we even knew how to say the same words to each other. So what troubles me the most is, the fact that we're closing this place because sorry, give me one sec. So yeah, this pool, closing it down will be a huge blow to not just me, but the thousands who rely on it today. Health and well-being, the youth and safety of our community. We've had so many crime, gang crime, knife crime, and things like that, drugs and alcohol happening within our communities. And if you close this place down, it'll just increase, I think it'll increase the crime rates and social impacts. And when you remove a positive outlet like this, you invite negative ones. We already face challenges within drugs, alcohol, and crime and disadvantaged communities. This centre has been an anchor in keeping young people together and engaged and away from risks. I ask you to respectfully not close this pool. Do not take away the one few facilities that unite, protect, and strengthens our community. Honour your promise, your responsibility, and your duties to listen to us. We are not asking for luxury. We're asking for fairness. We're asking for you to preserve the place that has saved lives, connected cultures, and given opportunities to people who otherwise would have been left behind. I urge you to stand with the community, not against it. Leave the Olympic Leisure Centre open, protect it, invest in it, and allow future generations, just like me back in 2003, to learn, to grow, and to belong. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdi. Our next speaker is Selvam Ponathorai, who will address Council in person. Okay, thank you. Councillors, before we move to the motion, are there any questions to officers? There's an officer report before you, councillors. I'm now calling for a motion. Do I have a mover? Moved, Councillor O'Kane. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Garotti. Councillor O'Kane, do you wish to speak?
Sorry, different seat. Thank you. This indeed is a very impressive. Very impressive petition presented to council is very significant, and is the outcome of committed community campaign involving many passionate local residents. I'll take this opportunity, however, to recognise the incredibly galvanising impact the Save the Pool campaign is having in the Olympia community and beyond. On Saturday, the Save the Pool campaign held a pool party at the OLC, which was eagerly and materially supported by council, also actually council officers. This was an extraordinary event that reflected our full diversity and the depth of community spirit. With balloons, a photo corner and buntings, the community atmosphere was pumping and at its absolute best. Congratulations to the pool party organisers and those who showed up with positivity to show how Olympia community can powerfully express its political demands through uplifting demonstrations of fun and togetherness. I sincerely thank everyone for participating in the Save the Pool campaign, for their commitment and phenomenal work, dedicating time and energy everyone would prefer to be spending elsewhere. As the Olympia Ward representative, I am in a complex situation, being both of my community and of Banyule Council. The substantial force of the community's opposition to the closure, as evidenced by this petition before us, would in nearly any other situation be completely overpowering. However, Council contends with several great macro forces which are simultaneously funneling down to shape the OLC's future. It is my sincere hope that the rich community movement, grown and fortified through this intensely difficult struggle, will carry forward into the future and enable a future as an enabling and active force for the betterment of OLC and the whole area.
Thank you, Councillor O'Kane. Does a seconder wish to speak? Does any other councillor wish to speak? I'll just say that we're voting tonight on whether we accept this petition, so that's what the vote is. We understand the journey that the community's been on and the importance of Olympic leisure, practically as well as symbolically. This petition is an example of how much this facility means to residents, and we commend those who have spoken up, and I don't mean just tonight in the meeting. We've spoken to a lot of residents over the course of the last few months they've shared their stories, and we will work with residents going forward and encourage that continued dialogue to what's coming next. I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Our next item is 3.1, in principle approval, performance statement and financial report. If people wish to leave, we'll pause for a minute. Okay. 3.1, there are no speakers on this item. Before we move to the motion, councillors, do we have any questions to officers?
Mayor, I think there's an amendment to the motion.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Wood. So we can run through the amendment, and if there's any questions after. Yep. Councillor O'Kane.
Okay, so item 3.1 in principle approval of the annual performance statement and financial report 2024. Thank you. Okay, sorry. That council number 1 approve in principle the draft financial report and the draft performance statement for the year ending 30th of June 2025, noting the immaterial changes identified at the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 19th of September 25 by HLB Mann Judd as the Victorian Auditor General Office's agent, including A, changes to the overall comprehensive income, which has been adjusted from 14.3 million to 76.6 million as a result of net asset re-evaluation in compliance with accounting standard AASB 13, and B, other minor adjustments to cash flow, statements of changes in equity and other minor formatting recommendations. Point 2 as is. Thank you. Oh, sorry, point 3. Point 3. Sorry, point 3 as is and point 4 as is. Thank you. So moved.
Move. Do you have a question? I'll take a seconder first. Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Wood. And a question, Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're moving, can we just go back to the first screen, please? So we're moving this to be in principle and noting immaterial changes. So through you, Mayor, I've got a question for the relevant officer. Item 1.A is suggesting a change to our net asset valuation in the order of $62.3 million. If the relevant officer could just explain to us in somewhat layman's terms what AASB 13 is and what has affected this change. Thanks.
So I direct that to Gloria.
Through you, Mayor. AASB 13 is for the valuation at fair value for non-financial assets. The situation occurred, or the immaterial change was a result of an accounting standard that was applied predominantly through AASB, but actually a financial reporting direction, so what we know as FRD 103, was initially approached when we were doing our accounts. That was applied. And then upon review with our auditors, we received advice that that approach was actually incorrect, as FRDs don't actually apply to local government. So as a result, we were required to do a revaluation based on excluding the FRD03 approach, and that required a book entry adjustment to the net asset reevaluation, and that needed to happen to be compliant with AASB 1.3. So we had to have and had done that, and as a result, now the auditors are most likely going to do a unmodified opinion as we're fully compliant with the AASBs.
Councillor Grotti.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, just to the appropriate officer, but just be grateful if I could be reminded on what the materiality thresholds are as set by the Victorian Auditor General.
Thank you, Councillor. So to the CFO.
Through you, Mayor, if I could just have a moment,
While that's happening, Mayor, this is possibly just a query to the mover and seconder, just in terms of some small wording adjustments to their amendments. But I was wondering if we could just change the wording to say, note the changes, so removal of the word immaterial. 1A, changes to the overall comprehensive income, which has been adjusted from a $14.3 million surplus to a $76.6 million surplus. And then with point B, other adjustments, so removal of the word minor to the balance sheet, cash flow statement, statement of changes in equity, etc. Seeking advice from the mover and seconder whether they would be agreeable to those changes.
Councillor O'Kane, do you need some time? So changing point
So
to
with regards to the noting the changes rather than noting the immaterial changes, I think this is referencing the different thresholds of immateriality between, I think, possibly state and federal government and local government accounting standards. I agree to that one. Other minor adjustments, we went through significant debates and discussions at the Audit and Risk Committee meeting. I'm happy with the word minor. Can I ask again why you would want the change?
Make it the observation that the net asset position of the council will increase by $65 million in the balance sheet, which to me is not minor. And I think there's been a laugh from the gallery that would indicate there might be community view on that as well. And B is missing the most important statement of the council is the balance sheet, which is missing in 1B at the moment. And the balance sheet will also have to be updated.
I'm happy with that, yes, I agree.
Okay, so we're going to just change the wording.
So we're inserting the word surplus after the 14.3 mil and surplus after the 76.6 mil, if I'm right, Councillor Grotti. And then we're adding in other adjustments to the balance sheet, comma, cash flow, statement of changes in equity and other minor formatting recommendations. Is that correct?
Okay. Question, Councillor Wood.
There's a question outstanding, Mayor.
There is.
The materiality threshold is 96.7 mil.
Clarification on what that materiality threshold applies to. Is that to the assets or to the operating, to the profit and loss?
So that's the overall materiality for property, infrastructure and assets plans, the 98, or 96.7, sorry.
and the materiality threshold that applies to the operating statement.
So performance materiality would be 77 million.
Thank you. We've moved, we've seconded. Does the mover wish to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, sorry. At its meeting last Friday, the Audit and Risk Committee, ARC for short, passed its recommendation that Council approve in principle Banyul's 2024-25 draft performance statement and financial report. Council has received the final written report from the Victorian Auditor-General's Office, VAGO's representative auditors, concluding that they expect an unmodified audit opinion. Pending Council's in-principle approval, these draft documents will be sent to VAGO for the final audit phase and then returned to Council in October. The delivery and auditing of this year's draft performance statement and financial report prompted thorough and constructive discussion by both VAGO agents and the ARC. Issues that arose were partly due to the need to clearly interpret new accounting methods and category definitions. Importantly, most queries raised were not about calculation errors or omissions, rather about clarifying how the results were calculated and the application of the AASB 13, which relates to the re-evaluation of assets, and as a consequence there has been significant reviewing of Banyul's assets and comprehensive result for Banyul. There have been, and that has been reflected in the motion. There was a noted increase in reliance on federal and state grants, something that officers noted as intentional, and advice around the use of external as well as internal property evaluators. The overall result was that despite budgeting for a 3.62 deficit, Council achieved a 0.51 surplus. This is a significant achievement as it marks the first time since COVID that Council is back in the black. It is a testament to the long-term work of our officers to get here. Overall, the ARC concluded that the Council's 2024-25 financial result was very good. I want to commend the executive management team and overall and all officers for this result. Your hard work and stewardship is clearly paying off. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Kane. Does the seconder wish to speak? Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Garotti.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, I think just for the record, we did deliver a surplus last year as well. So, yeah, just to note, just to clarify that. I think it's a bit... usually when we adopt the accounts and they come to Council, it's a great opportunity for us to be able to sit back and reflect on the year that was and the achievements financially, the opportunities and the challenges. I think unfortunately, we've really had to get bogged down into some process-based amendments. I'd like to thank Councillor Wood and Councillor O'Kane for their work at the Audit and Risk Committee. I would also like to really thank our Audit and Risk Committee for doing their work and due diligence, basically to clean up these accounts before they came to us. I think there's a lot of learnings here. In other contexts and other organisations I'm involved in, coming to effectively the Board of Governance at this point with such, although maybe not technically material, from a VAGO definition perspective, from an organisational perspective, certainly significant. So I think there's work to be done, and I look forward to getting a briefing back at some stage from the CEO and the Director of Corporate Governance around the learnings and opportunities for improvement. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Garotti. Does any other councillor wish to speak? No, as Councillor O'Kane mentioned, that these reports will be submitted to VAGO for final review and sign off. And thank you, Councillor O'Kane, for your explanation of the changes, and Councillor Wood too for your questioning at the last Audit and Risk Committee meeting last week. I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 3.2, Advocacy Priorities and Progress Report. There is one speaker on this item. A video message will be played on behalf of Melissa Murphy-Webster, who is speaking for the recommendation.
The advocacy for Ivanhoe Council's generally pretty good. There's bits that I agree with and bits that not so much, but generally speaking, pretty good for council. However, I do find it a bit strange that the levy is not part of this advocacy, given the amount of stress and angst that is coming with that. I would like to see Ivanhoe Council do more in regards to advocate on behalf of the residents for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, there's an officer report before you in the agenda papers. I am now calling for a motion. A question, Councillor Grotti.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just reflecting upon the comment raised by our speaker, just through the appropriate officer, but seeking guidance on what advocacy council is doing and whether or not it is documented in our advocacy plan with regard to state government charges that are now collected via the rates process. Thank you, Mayor.
I think to the Director of Community Wellbeing, Joseph Tobacco.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thanks for the question, Councillor Grotti. In relation to the matter just raised by the resident, whilst Council isn't through the adoption of the proposed advocacy priorities adopting that specific action, there is work that we are participating in at a statewide level, both through the MAV and through the Northern Councils Alliance. So there are operational matters which are considered to be a part of the operations which officers implement, as opposed to some of the key priorities, which are the 8 which are being considered tonight.
Okay. Do you have a question, Councillor O'Kane?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question to the relevant officer. Will the Integrated Services Hub for West Heidelberg form a key part of Council's 2026 Victorian State Election Advocacy Campaign?
Thank you for your question, Councillor O'Kane. Director Tobacco.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thanks for the question. The short answer is yes, it will.
If there are no further questions, I call for a mover with an amendment. Councillor Castaldo, would you like to take us through the amendment?
I'll move the motion. 1 as is, 2 as is, 3 with the following addition added. Part A, clarification that the numbering is a project number and not a priority order. So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Castaldo. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor O'Kane. Councillor Castaldo.
No, nothing.
Does the seconder wish to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just say really quickly that the amendment relates to, if you go through the list of Banyul's transport advocacy plan, there's 80 odd items there, and that the listing of the items is not by priority as it may be read. The items down the bottom are not necessarily of lesser priority, it's just by project number. That was the clarification there.
Thank you for that, Councillor O'Kane. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Grotti.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And look, just noting the comments of the speaker, that issue is more of a statewide level, and so as the directors pointed out, advocacy through MAV and NCA is the appropriate channel, whereas our priority list is very much targeted on local issues, on local matters. And I think it's quite good that we've been able to land on 8 meaty and targeted priorities. I think there's in total over 70, but to have 8 key ones that we can engage with the state government and other parties in the lead up to next year's election is very powerful. I won't touch on them all, but interestingly I will mention that the Civic Drive roundabout is something that the Mayor and I have been contacted about over the weekend, and an accident and quite a bit of distress for a person with a disability. So really pleased to see that one on the list amongst the others. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Garotti. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to just highlight one of the 8 as being the continued advocacy for North East Link. It's the biggest project in the country at the moment. It's going right through the heart of our city. So it's appropriate that it sits on this list. There's a lot happening behind the scenes. We're putting a motion up to MAV about this, and we have their support at the moment. We've met with Nillumbik and Manningham, and we have their support in our endeavours here. And we'll be meeting with local state members. And the key issue that we're pushing for is a permanent truck ban along Rosanna Road and Greensborough Road and associate roads, which is indeed appropriate given the circumstances, and that we're building a dedicated throughway. So happy to be pushing hard for this one.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Does any other councillor wish to speak? I might say a few words. This is Council's identified list for our future, and as we know, councils cannot fund all infrastructure and all services that Australians need. We work in partnership with other levels of government, and we need to achieve a strong position of influence. As we know, there is a Victorian state election next year, and Banyule needs to be and is armed and ready, identifying opportunities where we can. And as Councillor O'Kane put in that they weren't prioritised in project number, some important projects I will highlight is the Integrated Services Hub in Heidelberg West, and also boosting the supply of housing, ensuring that it is balanced with community aspirations. That's really important to residents in Banyule. And also homelessness, having that assertive outreach program continuously funded. And the other ongoing advocacy that I'd like to mention is the pedestrian bridge over the Plenty River in Greensborough to connect Briar Hill to the Plenty River Trail. These sorts of things that improve connectivity are very, very costly. The Odenwald pedestrian bridge also similar purpose to promote those healthier, sustainable, connected ways of living, and to offer that freedom and accessibility, it does come with a really high price tag. The NISP, the Northern Innovation and Sustainability Precinct with Latrobe, ensuring that there's enough investment, jobs, transport and infrastructure going forward, not to mention the population growth that it's going to happen in the next 10 years. And lastly, our bicycle strategy and our aquatic strategy, family violence, gambling support, food relief, all of these things to help people live a good life. The last thing I wanted to mention actually was the projects in the report that were on pause. I'd really like to see them move forward in the coming years as well. I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Our next item is item 3.3, adoption of the council gift policy. There are no speakers on this item. Councillors, do we have any questions? Okay, no questions. Moved, Councillor Garotti. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Champion. Do you wish to speak? Does the seconder wish to speak? Does any other councillor wish to speak? Well, I might speak then. Okay. I like in the report that there's the benchmarking. I think that's a really important exercise, and it was good to see the comparisons contributed to a further refinement of the policy. As councillors, public interest is above all, and this policy does strengthen transparency. And I'd like to also thank Linda Chappell, our governance lead, for tracking the changes in the document, making it easier for that feedback. I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 3.4, adoption of council expenses policy. There are no speakers on this item. Are there any questions? Councillor Champion wishes to move. Do I have a councillor wishing to second? Seconded, Councillor O'Kane.
Just move with minor amendments, Mayor.
Okay. So, Councillor Champion, take us through Councillor Garotti's suggested amendments.
We can do that. That Council 1 adopts the council expenses policy as provided at attachment 1 with the following amendment to clause 5.1.7.1. A, to assist in the meeting demands and expectations placed on the Mayor, a council fleet vehicle shall be provided for use by the Mayor during their term. This will include all associated costs, including servicing, reasonable cleaning, charging and insurance. 2 as is, 3 as is, so moved. Thank you, Mayor.
And does the seconder accept those amendments?
I do, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Kane. Councillor Champion, do you wish to speak?
I won't. Thank you for asking though, Mayor.
Councillor O'Kane.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to, more than anything, just a couple of side comments rather than directly to the policy. I'd like to thank Linda Chappell and the governance team backing up the previous motion of the gift policy, but also the councillor expense policy, because you make our job of reviewing this very clear and very easy, where it can get very tricky very quickly. So thank you for that. And also just to comment that as a first term councillor, having to review these policies at this point in time in the agenda actually is very helpful. We're past the big bulk of things, and we're at a point where we can start to absorb information, and it really does contribute to the learning process, as well as, fully understanding our responsibilities. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Kane. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 3.5, revised procurement policy 25 to 2029. There are no speakers on this item. Are there any questions from councillors?
No questions.
No questions. There's an officer report before you with some amendments. Councillor Garotti, would you like to take us through the amendments?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So looking to move with a couple of amendments. So 1A as is, 1B as is, 1C, amend the policy exemptions with the following amendments: inclusion of a category Chief Executive Officer assessment, and that should be 1B, 1CI, 1CII, exemption commentary to include where the CEO determines that a tender is not feasible or in the best interests of council, and where there is a not profitable, I should have done my due diligence before coming here. And I'll be looking to just amend that wording a bit, and where there may be a not-for-profit provider that is available to provide superior outcomes than would likely be attainable through the private market. Next page. removal of exemption categories 4, 5, 9, 10 and 11 listed in section 2.23 and renumbered accordingly, and exemptions to be reported in the quarterly finance report. D as is. E includes wording in Appendix 2 of Council's commitment to eliminating modern slavery in its procurement activities. Remove Appendix 5. Retain the current Banyule City Council sustainable policy KPIs, and that officers brief councillors on any revision of the KPIs as part of the revised sustainable procurement framework. And a new H, note that future revisions of the procurement policy will be reviewed by the Audit and Risk Committee prior to being submitted to Council. So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Grotti. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Wood. Councillor Grotti, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So we're looking to move, quite a substantial change in the procurement policy of the council. One, obviously increasing the threshold of tenders from $300,000 to $500,000. That $300,000 threshold was set a number of years ago now, and we know that there's been significant cost escalation in the market, particularly for capital-related works. So what that'll do is it'll enable officers to be a little bit more responsive and nimble and quicker in delivery of council program. It doesn't mean that we're not going to be testing the market. 3 quotes will still be required, but it just means that for that procurement now of that size, there won't be the need to go to a full public tender. So a bit of an efficiency there. And of course, the discretion is always there for council to run a tender where they think it might be in the interests of the council, regardless of the threshold. I suppose then the second component of what we're doing tonight, though, is really just a substantial shift in the exemption categories of the council. And with these amendments, what we're saying is we're going to remove a number of exemption categories. And for example, one of the exemption categories was professional services that encompassed legal fees. Well, in my opinion, that's an area of spend that ought not to be exempt from council procurement. Our legal expenses, I think, are $600,000 to $1 million a year. That's a sizable area of expend. The council can run a process to bring on a panel of lawyers and make sure that we're getting value for money out of that spend. It should not be an automatic exemption category. Another exemption category was work cover insurance. Yes, that category, the cost of work cover insurance is set by the state government, but there are a number of providers on the panel, and the non-financial component, the service component to the council, ought to be tested through a tender. So I just thought it was important to highlight a couple of examples, and there are more, where we'd had exemption categories that upon scrutiny are not, potentially not warranted. Having said that though, we've identified a need to make sure that the CEO has flexibility where a tender's not feasible and where there might be a better value for money outcome by not doing a tender. In return, as an accountability and transparency mechanism, a report on that will come back to council each quarter. So we're really moving to a performance-based, principles-based procurement policy here, and I think this will hold council in good stead. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Grotti. Does the seconder wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to support these amendments, and I'll say that it's really good work by Councillor Grotti. I think this is thorough governance on show here, and removing some of the red tape and allowing council flexibility to serve our community better is really at the forefront here. So thank you, Councillor Grotti, for your work in this. Happy to support.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor O'Kane.
Thank you, Mayor. Only to ditto Councillor Wood's remarks and thank Councillor Garotti for his work and leadership on this. He's brought a significant expertise in this, and do think that the flexibility and the adroitness that may result from this is in our favour, Council's favour. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Kane. Does any other councillor wish to speak? The main body of this policy was drafted with the Northern Council Alliance procurement leads, as the intention was initially to encourage collaboration between councils for better outcomes for the wider area, so it doesn't become that tough negative sort of competition space. So Council is required to review its policy at least once, and I just highlight at least once every 4-year term, and this can be done at any time, and good that it's done with this level of scrutiny. And also thank you, Councillor Grotti, for these amendments. I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 3.6, endorsement of Council's position on motions for the MAV State Council meeting on the 10th of October. And as I look at the screen, there are some amendments. Deputy Mayor, thank you.
Wish to move with amendments, one as is, and additionally noting the following changes. 1A, motion 13, change position to not support. Part B, consolidated motion 7, change position to no position. And Part C, noting motion 32, only support if the motion wording is amended to remove the term waste to energy from point 4 of the motion. So moved.
Moved, Councillor Castaldo. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor O'Kane.
Yeah, I'd like to first thank officers for their significant work on the evaluation of the 89 motions. I'd also like to thank resident Jai Sanderford for his well-considered feedback, to which my fellow councillors will speak to. Also, Councillor Curry, who couldn't be with us this evening, that contributed to both motions 12, addressing the need to protect tree canopy targets of 30%, and motion 60, addressing the social and affordable housing design standards that need to be delivered to good design standards. I'll speak to Part C now. Regarding motion 32, this is a bit of a grab bag of items pushed into a single motion, and we should be very careful here we should be technology neutral on the delivery of long-term solutions in the waste management, especially waste to energy, something so highly controversial that's both economically and environmentally contentious and would lock us into high costs of waste management and the abandonment of waste recovery. So that motion is only supported if these words waste to energy are removed. And I will be supporting the motion as is up on the board.
Thank you, Councillor Castaldo. Councillor O'Kane, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. Council did discuss a number of suggestions from the analysis of the MAV motions put forward to Aspire resident Jai Sanford, and we thank him very much for his analysis. As a result, we chose to change a position on motion 13. Motion 13 was about state government financial incentives to support increased private investment in housing. We decided or agreed that this was an incentive that we would prefer, I think, the government to be putting into social housing directly. And on point B, consolidated motion 7 changes position to from not supported to no position. From not supported to no position. And it was a technical point that on point, there were 7 points to this. And on the first point, did not align with Council's position on the Emergency Services and Volunteers Fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Kane. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Grotti.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, it's already been covered off by Peter and Mary, but I do want to thank Jai for his input, and I think it demonstrates that we take it on board. So where residents can get in contact with us a day or 2 days out from the council meeting via email, well-articulated position, it really makes our job easier to be able to hear that input from the community and to try and reflect upon it. So I just want to highlight that, and it doesn't look like Jai's in the gallery this evening, but if you're listening in from home, Jai, thank you, and we appreciate your input.
Thank you, Councillor Grotti. Does any other councillor wish to speak? No? Any council can submit business to be considered at MAB State Council meetings. And as Councillor Castaldo mentioned, there are 89 motions, Baniel submitting 3. The permanent truck ban, thank you to Councillor Wood for raising this on behalf of residents that have experienced a lot of anxiety, discomfort, noise, stress from the roadworks around the North East Link, so we appreciate this. And as Councillor Castaldo mentioned, the social and affordable housing design and tree canopy from Councillor Curry. They've been accepted, and I'll be attending the State Council meeting in October with substitute delegate Councillor Curry to advocate on Council's behalf. I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 3.7, record of council meetings. There are no speakers. There's an officer report before you in the paper. Moved, Councillor Champion. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Grotti. Do you wish to speak? Any other councillor wish to speak? I put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 4.1, Advisory Committee Quarterly Report for August 2025. There are no speakers on this item. Are there any questions to officers? No. Can I please have a councillor move? Moved, Councillor Castaldo. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Champion. Do you wish to speak?
Yeah, I'll just speak to the committee I was on, but this is the first report back to our community on our advisory committees once they've been established. So it was a special time for us to reconnect with our community in these really important areas. I attended the First Nations community group, and the meeting was particularly productive. We adopted the new terms of reference with language that was culturally considered and aligned with the community. We elected co-chair Maddie Miller. Was put forward by our First Nations representatives to co-chair that meeting with myself, a unique management of this committee that is unlike any of the others, showing our respect to that community, and the establishment of the committee name, Baniel First Nations Advisory Committee, which includes the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung name, Baniel, meaning Big Hill, along with the preferred terms of the community representatives of First Nations. It was a very constructive start and a highly engaged, committed group, and I look forward to working with them over the coming year.
Thank you, Councillor Castaldo. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Champion.
Just very briefly, Mayor, thank you very much to our residents who've volunteered their time and their experience, their expertise, their knowledge to contribute to Banyule through being a committee member. I'm the substitute for the Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee, which I'm very excited to be on after 9 years. I finally got there. So just generally a thank you. Thank you very much for those of you who are contributing, and we're looking forward to a lot more constructive meetings and outcomes from them. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Champion. Does any other councillor wish to speak? No? I'll just add it's great to see that they're off to a good start. Thank you to all our volunteers and all the community representation that we have. It's also good to see councillors. We're all we've spread the load and we're all across, we represent on our external and internal committees. And, you know, progress has been made, updating terms of reference and robust discussions already filtering their way back to the council. I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Our next item is item 6.1, Lula Close Yalambee Sports Pavilion additions. There are no speakers on the item. We have a motion. No questions? No? Moved. Councillor Wood. Do I have seconded Councillor Champion? Councillor Wood, do you wish to speak? Does the seconder wish to speak? Does any other councillor wish to speak? I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. The next item is item 6.2, 72 Turnham Avenue, Rosanna, Supermarket and Rosanna Library Development Amendment. There are no speakers. Are there any questions? Councillor Castaldo.
Through you, Mayor, question for the relevant officer regarding will this amendment lead to a delay in the delivery of the project if not adopted, and also what is the anticipated time of delivery if it is adopted?
So to Director Natasha Swan.
I can probably answer the first part, Mayor, and I might need to consult with my colleague for the second part, but no, the decision being made tonight does not result in a delay in the delivery of the project, so that the areas that are subject to the amendment are part of the current construction, and the timing for this is in fact absolutely right because these are areas of works that we intend to move to in the near future. But as to the opening date, I think I'll defer to the Director of Community Wellbeing.
Director Tobacco.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. The project is well and truly on track. In fact, it's probably ahead of schedule, and we would anticipate a pre-Christmas opening of the facility.
Thank you, yes.
You're very happy. Okay. Do we have a mover? Moved, Councillor Castaldo. Do I have a seconder? Sorry, I did not see he was up first. Ooh. Okay, I'm going to look again. Okay, Councillor Champion, second. That doesn't happen often, but it was 3 in a row. Does the mover wish to speak?
Yes, please. Up before us tonight is an amendment to the current planning permit for the delivery of the Rosanna Library and adjoining supermarket. There have been a range of adjustments to the design of the library, noting no major changes. These include increased planters, ramp realignment, facade, screen variation and other minor amendments. Variations to the supermarket to those proposed by the applicant were not to support the rear signage height variation from 6.5 metres to 8 metres, so retained at 6.5, and the removal of the BWS signage at the frontage on Turnham Avenue. And then supporting the cafe addition and signage that includes frontage variation on the Turnham Avenue elevation, solar panels to the supermarket and revised entrance to the supermarket. While the amendments are not significant, I'm supportive of the amendments and believe this will lead to a better library and supermarket to the surrounding character and the users of the building. This will be an important asset, not only for the Ibbott Ward residents, but for residents across Banyule, as many in my Griffin Ward have been asking me when will the project be delivered. We've just heard it will be delivered before Christmas. I'm glad I'm not hanging my hat on that. It's on our Director Joseph Tobacco over there. but we'll be delivering it soon. And I look forward to this project rolling out as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Councillor Castaldo. Does the seconder wish to speak? Councillor Champion.
Thanks very much, Mayor. Look, very briefly, I am very excited to hear that we are slightly advanced of our opening date. So that is great news. Can't wait for this very important date.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Item 8.1, consideration of submissions and objections to Lower Plenty Shopping Centre special charge renewal. As the objectors to this item have already been heard, there will be no further speakers to this item. I'm now calling for a motion. Do I have a mover? Moved, Councillor Champion. Seconded, Councillor Garotti. Councillor Champion, do you wish to speak?
Well, look, very briefly, Mayor, this is something that we support every year for our traders. It simply allows for us as a council to support the traders groups financially to help them function better and well for our communities. So this is always a very straightforward, kind of a no-brainer kind of thing to support. So it's always a privilege and a pleasure to support these special charge renewals. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Does the seconder wish to speak? Does any other councillor wish to speak? No? So just to highlight that Council received no objections to this proposed special charge scheme, and this reflects well on past performance as well as future plans for shaping the precinct. I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Okay, so we're moving on to general business, and I believe each councillor has an item. I don't mind who begins. Who's ready to go? Councillor Champion.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one general business item this evening. Winter is a school stage production time of the year. Every year, Banyul's high schools and primary schools hold their stage production of choice, opening up ticket sales to family, friends, the general public for their selection of performances for the year. This year we were invited to Montmorency Secondary College In Your Dreams, St Helena Secondary College 42nd Street and St Bernadette's Primary School Alice in Wonderland. All productions are chosen to allow for as many students across all age groups as possible to participate. It gives them this opportunity. The productions are professionally and passionately performed. They are highly practiced, considered, coordinated, and allow for the performers both on stage and back of house to express themselves through their characters, and they have lots of fun. The connections made during rehearsals extend to the classrooms, the playground, and the students all look out for each other, they acknowledge each other, which leads to greater connections and friendships. I will add that the teachers are highly involved in this as well, and the students actually invest a lot of time outside of school hours to bring us their skills and talents. The Mayor, Councillor Neely, Councillor Curry and I appreciated our invitations, and we were privileged to experience the skills, talent, hard work and connectivity that our schools share. The future of Australian theatre and musical performance is alive and well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Champion. We might move around the table. So, Councillor O'Kane.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Last week I had the great pleasure of attending the certificate awarding ceremony for the Olympic Neighbourhood House's annual Women's Legal Literacy course. It was absolutely phenomenal, and why I have placed so much value on this course and the wonderful people and the incredible Melissa John Pillai, who is the convener of the course, is that a lot of the legal literacy concerns how women can understand and navigate our legal system, including our family laws and court system. And them knowing this and being able to take this knowledge and navigate some very, very challenging things in their lives is exactly how human rights are normalised in our society and how equality is progressed. So it was a wonderful honour to be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Kane, for sharing that. Councillor Wood.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'll just acknowledge a significant sporting feat from one of our clubs, being Heidelberg United Warriors have qualified for the final of the Australia Cup. This competition is where the champion clubs around the country take on the A-League teams. And normally the A-League teams prevail, but Heidelberg have managed to beat 3 A-League teams to qualify for the grand final. And 4th October they take on the Newcastle Jets at Lakeside Oval. So I'll be there. Hopefully you'll all join me, councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. I might go next. Yesterday, the councillors sitting in the chamber today, we all attended the Banyule Youth Fest, which was held at McLeod Park. It was a vibrant celebration of creativity, diversity, leadership of young people in Banyule, and brought together over 5,000 attendees in a dynamic, child-safe, inclusive environment, even though it was stormy, grey, cold, rained, then it didn't rain, then it rained. They were there, the kids. I say the kids, but the young people loved it. It was designed and delivered by young people aged 12 to 25, and it showcased the talent, the innovative spirit of our young people through the live music performances, interactive activities and youth-led market space where young creators shared their ideas and initiatives. So the event also featured The Nest, which is a low sensory space supporting neurodiverse and disabled young people, reinforcing our commitment to accessibility and inclusion. So this year's festival reflected Banyule City Council's values of empowerment, community connection and cultural respect. And I commend the youth services team, our volunteers, all participating young people for being there, and showing their dedication and creativity. It was not just a celebration, it was a powerful demonstration of what happens when we invest in and listen to our young leaders. And also thank you, the CEO, for attending, and Director Tobacco as well in the wellbeing space. And Director Bennett, but we didn't cross paths, and Director Bennett. I believe it. I'm sorry. We were all there. Okay. Moving on to the Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I'd just like to, on the 14th of September, we held our first Urban Forest celebration where Mayor Elizabeth Neely, myself and Councillor Alicia Curry were in attendance. It was a first event celebrating this important quality of Banyule and hopefully a celebration that continues to grow in the coming years.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Grotti.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just an update from the Yarra Plenty Regional Library Board. Our strategic plan is currently out for consultation, so I would encourage members of the community and even council and councillors who may have an interest in this topic to put in a submission. We'd eagerly embrace your feedback and input. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for sharing that. It's very important to get that feedback. We have now, moving on to public questions, we have 2 public questions, and if any members of the public are in the gallery, they are welcome to approach the lectern, and I believe they are, so I won't read the rest. So our first question is from Rowan Harrison of Eaglemont. Thank you, Rowan. Welcome to the lectern.
This is the best meeting we've had on school holidays, isn't it? As Mayor, as not all planning applications appear on the Banyule Planning Applications on Public Notice webpage, can Council please advise the procedure to obtain details of any planning application lodged, e.g. planning number and a proposal at the time of lodgement?
Thank you for your question, Rowan, and this is to be answered by Director Natasha Swan.
Thank you, Rowan, for your question. We acknowledge that currently applications that are not subject to public notice do not appear online. Council has prioritised access to those applications which include public participation. Officers are currently exploring IT options to develop an online planning register that provides details of all live planning applications lodged with Council for assessment. This will in turn increase the community awareness and access to information about planning permit applications received in the city. In the meantime, should members of the community wish to know if a planning application for a particular site has been lodged or details of any planning application, please call 9490 4222 or visit one of our customer service centres.
Thank you. Our next question is from David Mulholland of Ivanhoe, who's in the gallery. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Mayor, and we will get back early to see who wins the Brownlow. At the last council meeting, council adopted item 3.2, the annual modern slavery statement, committing to stamp out modern slavery across its supply chains. This was an extremely welcome step, and I acknowledge that it's a voluntary statement that maybe only Banyule is committed to, which is, again, excellent. However, if council is genuinely committed to eliminating modern slavery across its supply chains, why has its scrutiny been limited to fleet vehicles rather than extending the same rigorous assessment to products like solar panels and lithium batteries, where evidence of slave and child labour is overwhelming? And shouldn't council ensure that its environmental initiatives are ethically responsible as well as environmentally responsible? Thank you.
Thank you, David, for your question. And this is to be answered by Acting Director of Corporate Services, Tony Tualdo.
So Council is strongly committed to ethical responsibility and continues to improve transparency and due diligence across its supply chain. These are part of broader conversations we're having within Council and with suppliers. We have started with the fleet vehicles due to an opportunity that was presented and previous concerns raised. And it was a practical first step, something that we could act quickly on with the resources that we had in hand. And it's the commencement of work in this space. The bigger goal is to make sure ethical checks are built into all our procurement decisions, not just the fleet vehicles.
Thank you for the response. The next ordinary meeting of Council will be held on Monday the 13th of October 2025. In accordance with Section 66(2)A of the Local Government Act 2020, the meeting will now be closed to members of the public for the consideration of one confidential matter. Item 11.1, Early Childhood Services Reform. The information contained in this Council report is designated as confidential information in accordance with Section 31A of the Local Government Act 2020. So for a detailed explanation of the confidential designation, please refer to the slide as displayed or the Council meeting agenda. Councillors, can I please have a mover to close the meeting to the public prior to considering confidential items? Moved, Councillor Castaldo, seconded, Councillor Champion. Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, the motion is carried. Okay. So thank you to everyone who's been in the gallery. I now close the meeting at 8:30 p.m. and thank you for your attendance.